What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I'm talking about the expanded format metagame, and we'll also look at the top finishing decks in a recent tournament, with the new bans Shaymin-EX, Oranguru, Sableye, and Milotic no longer allowed in the format, and also Vivid Voltage added to the expanded format. Before we get into that, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTCGO codes, and be sure to use code Celio for 5% off. So this was the PTCGO Store Online Regional Perfection number 2 expanded format on November 21st. The website I'm on here is play.limitlesstcg.com. Definitely check it out if you're looking for tournament results or tournaments to play in yourself. So this is the metagame breakdown. There were over 120 players in this tournament, and I think the top deck here is indicative of what expanded format looks like right now. The most played deck listed here is Other, and Other means it's a deck that is not assigned to an archetype. And so let's just look at what some of these might have looked like. We've got ADP Turbo Dark, which was actually thought to be good at some point, but never turned out to be anything. Florges Dolls, it looks like. Yeah, Florges Dolls. We'll just click a couple of these. Garbodor with the new Shedinja. Okay, so just to give you a gist of what Other means. But the point is, a lot of people didn't know what to play. A lot of people are trying out new and kind of non-concrete ideas in Expanded. There's so many cards to work with, about a decade's worth of cards in this format, and a very short ban list with a few new additions, and a whole new set of cards added to it for this tournament. So we'll get into the real archetypes now that were played. The most popular, we'll look at the ones that had 5% or more played. We had Mewtwo and Mew tag team boxes. We had Trashapult or Dragapult Garbodor. We had Snorlax VMAX Zoroark, Turbo Dark, and Pikachu, all over 5% of the metagame. And then going down this list, we have ADPZ, Centiskorch, which I played myself for this tournament, Eternatus VMAX Zoroark, Wall Stall, so Stall variants, Eggrow Vileplume, Ultra Necrozma, Colossal Zacian V, and the list goes down. You can check out the rest for yourself if you'd like to, but we'll also just look at a few of the win rates of the popular decks. Pikachu and Snorlax both had really good win rates. Dragapult's win rate was absolutely atrocious, as was Mew Mew's. Turbo Dark's was a bit under 50%. Mewbox had a really good win rate, but then we're getting down to decks that only like 4 or 5 people played, and the win rates are much less relevant with the less people that played them. So let's take a look at the standings. So the top 8 of the event, we'll start at number 8. Mr. Azul GG played Mewcrem, and some of these expanded lists are gonna be pretty large images here. If you watched yesterday's standard video, you'll see that some of the decks were only taking up 3 lines, and these are taking up 5 lines. So Mewcrem is based off of copying basic Pokemon's attacks with Mew from Fate's Collide, the Memories of Dawn ability that allows it to copy any attacks from basic Pokemon on your bench. And of course, you're using Dimension Valley to make your Psychic Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless less. So Mew is copying attacks for 1 colorless less. So it can use Cramorant's Spit Shot for just a DCE or a Twin Energy. It can use Bunnelby's Burrow and Rototiller for free. It can use Double and Lugia GX's attacks for just a Twin Energy or a DCE, and so on and so forth. So Mewcrem is really good because it's copying attacks from the last, basically pick attacks that cost 3 colorless from the last 10 years of the game and put all the strongest ones in the deck. And that's what this does. So you have Item Lock, you have removal of a target with Lugia, you have a card that can just blow up attackers with Double, you have Mill and Resource Management with Bunnelby, you have sniping the bench Pokemon like the Denny and Crobat with Cramorant, and Clefairy can just copy an attack. I think I said Item Lock with Seismitoad. You can just do so much with this deck. And it's really, really good. It's been fleshed out a lot because it was played a lot before tournaments stopped being held in real life. I know Frank Persick and Hunter Butler did pretty well in Collinsville with a Mewcrem deck. So yeah, this is Mewcrem. Azul played it. It's been one of my go-to decks in Expanded. It was probably one of my top picks up until like the days before the tournament, and then I just started getting really into Scorch Garbodor and just ended up sticking with that. But Mewcrem's a very, very good deck. It's kind of a staple of the Expanded format right now. If you're not playing it yourself, I'd expect to see it in Expanded tournaments that you play in. Next, we've got Kamov playing Stall, it looks like. Yeah, so let's check this out. This is really a wall stall, because we got the Whale Lords, just big bodies, Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno tag team. We got the Snorlax with block. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat. So you got Snorlax in the active, and you got Regirock on the bench, which has the Omega Barrier. When your opponent plays a trainer card, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. So because of that Omega Barrier, Regirock can't be affected by Guzma, so Guzma is not an option for your opponent to get out of this block ability, so that doesn't help them retreat. So if they're not playing a card like Switch or Escape Rope, you might just be able to jam a Pokemon up there and they never get out of it, and then they deck out. And of course, you can just keep your deck going and going and going with Lily's Poké Doll, with Syndicate to get supporters back, etc. Palpad to get supporters back, things like that. So yeah, Stall. This is truly a Stall deck. It's not really control. That's why there's just these big bodies like Wailord and Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos tag team to just stick out into the active and let your opponent hit it, then you Acerola it or AZ it and just rinse and repeat that strategy, unless you can wall them with Hoopa, which they can't hit, based on how their deck is built, or you can Snorlax block them, which is also a viable strategy. That was 7th place, and now next we've got Anti with Snorlax VMAX Zoroark. So this is actually much more a simpler deck, and this is something I don't think is terribly hard to pick up if you're coming from standard format. So Snorlax VMAX just does a ton of damage. If you have a full 8 bench with Skyfield Stadium, which allows you to have a bench of 8 instead of 5, G-Max Fall does 60 plus 240 for a total of 300 damage. So 300 damage, that's a fair amount of damage that you're doing with Snorlax VMAX for a triple acceleration energy, while you're drawing cards with Zoroark's Trade. And you also have Foul Play as a secondary attack. Choose one of the defending Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. So just a solid copy the opponent. If they're doing something really degenerate or strong, you can just copy it with Foul Play for a triple acceleration energy. This deck is weak to like stall and control kind of decks, or anything with a wall that stops them from being attacked with like something with special energies, although Alolan Muck can take care of that with the power of alchemy, shutting off all basic abilities. So this is just a really like beat stick deck. Like you're just evolving Snorlax VMAX, knocking out whatever's in your way, and that's your main strategy, or pretty much your only strategy. So Snorlax VMAX, just kind of a simple deck, but it shows that it can do really well, making top 8. Robin Schultz of Limitless with a Zacian deck, and this is not ADP Zacian, it is just Zacian, so very interesting. Zacian V, of course, we all know it, and some of us love it, with the Intrepid Sword and Brave Blade. So Intrepid Sword, look at the top 3, attach any metal there, otherwise draw those cards and then your turn ends, and Brave Blade, slap the opponent for a light 230 for 3 energies. And then there's a couple techs here. So Aegislash V, new from Vivid Voltage. Sonic Edge goes through effects, so this goes through Hoopa, this goes through Pyroar, this goes through etc. Any kind of effect that would stop you from damaging your opponent. Like the Mighty Shield ability on Aegislash-EX. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from each of your opponent's Pokemon that has special energy attached to it. So if your opponent has a deck that only plays special energies, you have Aegislash-EX. And Robin actually included Stealthy Hood to stop things like Alolan Muck and Garbodor from turning off that power. So those abilities can't turn off this ability, and then your opponent with only special energies can't hit Aegislash-EX. Cobalion GX has the ability Metal Symbol. Each of your Pokemon that has any metal energy attached can't be affected by special conditions. So that is notable for decks that are doing things like Raticate, where you poison and then put your opponent down to 1 damage counter, and then the poison ticks you and knocks you out. Shedinja that does the same thing. Notably, Dead End GX on Darkrai GX, which if your opponent's affected by a special condition, they're knocked out. Cobalion GX stops those kinds of things. And the last card I'll mention in this deck is Delmise. Your metal Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. That was 5th place, I believe. Yep. On to 4th place, Wilmer Johansson, also with Mewcrem. Let's check it out, see how it's different from Azul's list. So Mewcrem, this is the exact list. Wait a second. Did they play the same exact deck? I think, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think Wilmer and Azul played the same, literal same exact deck. Yeah, they played the same exact list. So the Mewcrem deck got 8th place and 4th place. Well done, Mewcrem. Next, we've got Ryo 120 with Pikarom in 3rd place. So Pikarom, this is another deck where if you're playing a lot of Standard now and you're going to be new to Expanded, not that bad of a deck to pick up since you'll have the cards for it and you know what a lot of the main cards already do. Also, if you were playing prior to the rotation, this still has Thunder Mountain and it still has Electro Power, so it's kind of like playing pre-rotation Pikarom from Standard, but you also get a couple other added tools. So I won't go over too much the cards that you already know about. Electros is there because it's not a basic Pokemon and it can just hit through things like Pyroar, and it can hit something like Hoopa because it's not an EX or GX. Clefairy is solid because it hits ADP for weakness, so you can you know, attach energy Cocoa Prism next to, and then energy switch. Sorry, I was like, hang on, wait, you can energy switch, right? This deck has to play energy switch. So yeah, you can energy switch, attach energy Cocoa Prism, boom, smack an ADP with Alter with Ultimate Ray, not Alter Creation, Ultimate Ray. There's also Marshadow GX, since there's a lot of stuff that's weak to fighting and Expanded, as there also is in Standard, actually. So Marshadow GX can hit Snorlax VMAX, Eternatus VMAX, Zoroark GX, Pikarom, Boltund, you know, all these very strong Pokemon that are weak to fighting. And other than that, this is basically a Pikarom deck like you would have seen in pre-rotation Standard. So there's not a lot to learn in this deck. We do have Max Elixir, which has been out of Standard for a while. Max Elixir, look at the top 6 cards and attach a basic energy you find there to a basic Pokemon on your bench. But other than that, this is Pikarom, pretty simple, but very, very powerful in the expanded format. And then we have another Pikarom. If there's not too much different, we'll just glance over this by Ricardo, who got 2nd. Yeah, this doesn't have a Clefairy. It does have a Fighting Fury Belt instead. Fighting Fury Belt is an expanded tool. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 40 HP, and its attacks do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you wanted a little bit of a bulkier Mon and also do a little bit of damage, that's a good card. Escape Rope, you'll notice, is thrown into some of these decks to get around things like that Snorlax block ability that I was mentioning. And then finally, Damien G won the whole event with Roxy Chomp. Let's open this bad boy up. So Roxy Chomp, the deck that Hunter Butler won Dallas Regionals 2019 with, which, you know, it's had some changes since then. Scoop Up Net came out, Galarian Zigzagoon came out. Those are new additions to the deck. Personally, I have replaced the Coughings with Weezings in my deck because I don't want to start with Coughing, although you could just Scoop Up Net it, but I'd rather not start with the Coughing. Yeah, so Roxy Chomp. It focuses on using the Calamitous Slash attack to do 260 damage. It does 160. If your opponent's active already has any damage on it, it does 80 more. So 260 for just attaching a double Dragon Energy and then Cocoa Prism, a Lightning onto it. So you can use that as early as turn 1. Now it's called Roxy Chomp because you use Roxy to discard 2 Pokemon from your hand and draw 6 cards, and you discard either Coughing or Wheezing with Blowaway Bomb. Once during your turn, when you discard this Pokemon with the effect of Roxy, you may put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So that sets up the damage counter needed for Calamitous Slash, as well as you have Headbutt Tantrum Zigzagoon and 2 Scoop Up Nets to set up that damage as well. Noivern GX is good because it's an evolution, so it gets through things that stop basic Pokemon from attacking or prevent damage from basic Pokemon. And it also has two very, very good attacks. Distort does 50 damage, your opponent can't play any items next turn, and Sonic Volume 120, your opponent can't play any special energy cards from their hand next turn. That completely locks out Ultra Necrozma, and it completely locks out something like Snorlax VMAX that only plays special energy. Of course, Pokemon Ranger is in the format and they can play those cards, but that means they have to draw into Pokemon Ranger or Versus Seeker for it, and that's their supporter for the turn. So there are disadvantages to getting around that with a Pokemon Ranger. The other card in the deck is Naganadel and Guzzlord Tag Team GX. This card is here for the Chaotic Order GX. For a colorless energy, you turn all of your prize cards face up. This Pokemon has at least one extra Psychic and one extra Dark, which means a double Dragon energy, and then any other energy, which is going to be Lightning in this deck. In addition to the other attack cost, take 2 prize cards. So this is just an easy, boom, take 2 prize cards. Very straightforward attack, but very, very strong that you can just take 2 prize cards out of nowhere. So this is just a super, super aggressive deck. It's fun to play, it's explosive, and you do have that little tech option of Noivern GX being to item lock or special energy lock your opponent. So something I want to kind of analyze about this top 8, we do have a lot of 3 prize Pokemon doing well in Expanded, but it is not as dominantly 3 prize Pokemon based, at least at the top of the meta, or in my opinion, at least as Standard is, because we do have Mewcrem, which is not a 3 prize based deck. We have this quad Zacian that Robin made, and I imagine this will become a popular thing now since Robin did it, and he's an amazing player and he saw success with it. We have Stall, Control, and Mildex, which are not 3 prize based. The Mewcrem, like I said. And then going down here, we do see a lot of 3 prize based decks. We have Vikavolt, Excadrill, Mewcrem, but Mewcrem being one of the tier 1 decks, I think this Zacian will be considered like either Rogue or tier 1 to tier 2. Then we have Stall variants as well. But yeah, still a lot of 3 prize Pokemon going on in the metagame for Expanded, but also, like I said, there's so many like Rogue and Random and other and things that are still being worked on. So this format is wide open still. But what you'll see for this tournament is, for the most part, the big Pokemon that are built around the aggressive decks that are built around big Pokemon tended to do very, very well. The last thing I just wanted to point out real quick was, if you missed my Scorch list in the video last week before I played in this was my Scorch list. Unfortunately, I was only able to go 5-2 with it. I was the highest performing Scorch. I think I was like 20th place or something at 5-2. I ended up losing to Mew3 and also my mom, who was playing Pikachu. But yeah, Scorch is a really good deck. But yeah, so a couple closing thoughts on the metagame. VMAX plus Garbodor, or VMAX plus Stage 1 in general, has seemed to be kind of the formula for VMAXs in Expanded. We've got Snorlax with Zoroark, we've got Eternatus with Zoroark, and then we've got Dragapult with Zoroark, and we've got Scorch with Zoroark. I'm sorry, Dragapult with Garbodor and Scorch with Garbodor. And aggressive 3 prize Pokemon are seeming to just be doing really, really well in general. I wanted to go to standings. Aggressive 3 prize Pokemon are seeming to do really, really well, but there's so much room for creativity and growth and change in this expanded format. So I hope you enjoyed this video looking at the expanded metagame. This tournament was just a week ago at the time of me recording this video, and also taking a look at these deck lists. So if you want to go copy and export these deck lists for yourself, you can do so at play.limitlesstcg.com, and be sure to check out PotownStore.com for all of your PTCGO needs, and use code Celio for 5% off. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.